Well, each week we like to break down the stories from the three levels of government with CTV political commentator Scott Reid, who joins us now in studio. Good morning, Scott. Nice to see you.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Okay, let's
nice
talk.
Yes,
we had a long weekend. I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
Okay, well, Kamala Harris, she's been pretty busy right now trying to pick a running mate. What's your take on this thus far? We're supposed to hear announcements sometime today.
Now, I know that people don't follow this segment with actual librarian-like attention, but we're sort of cheating, right? It's kind of a cheat, starting with the federal government, but the big story of the day is Kamala Harris picking her vice presidential choice. And the reason I flag it is, the United States government, whoever wins this election, it's so vitally important to us. I don't think people realize, when I worked in the Prime Minister's office, I would say, in all honesty, probably 30% of our time was absorbed by Canada-U.S. relations. Not just foreign relations, but Canada-U.S. That bilateral relationship's that determinative, that important. And it's even more so now. With the threat of a Trump presidency, what's going to happen? So now, why are we paying attention? Because it matters a lot. We've got this Team Canada, tons of delegations going down. So the VP pick is, at least from our perspective, another opportunity for us to plug into somebody who's going to have a voice of influence. Maybe this person's going to be the vice president. Hey, maybe the president someday. Yeah. So who are our choices going to be? Going to be interesting to watch. Tim Walz, sort of the late charging runner here in this Olympics foot race. Governor of Minnesota. Interesting guy, border state with us, probably has a better feel for Canada. Kind of the old white guy, mainstream, middle of the road Democrat. Everybody seems to think that's where she's going. Mark Kelly, the astronaut from Arizona, could help her with the border issues, because that's a big issue. And then there's Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania, they must win. Yeah, so I'm going to be watching, but the real issue is whoever she picks, what will happen diplomatically is we will be on that guy's doorstep. They will already in Ottawa be thinking, who has relationships to each of these three individuals? How do we plug it in? Oh, Governor of Minnesota? Fantastic. We've met with that guy a ton of times. We've already had delegations and interest with him. He understands the bilateral border relationship. So watch all of that, because behind the scenes, whenever something big happens in the U.S., and this is big, a giant machine clicks into place and starts purring here in Canada.
It's interesting to have that perspective, though, because you wouldn't necessarily think that, but you make some really great points on the impact of us, and whatever that pick is, and down the line when it comes to November.
And for that reason, I would think that probably Ottawa, we call it Fort Pearson. It's the Pearson building where Foreign Affairs, Global Affairs is housed. So you say Fort Pearson in Ottawa would want Walz. Why? Because he's a border governor. And that means we probably have existing relationships, and he would have a sensibility about the bilateral relationship and its importance.
Yeah, well, we're watching for that today. We also want to talk provincially. So the Ford government coasting with some pretty strong support, it seems. Yeah. One issue, though, still continues to linger, and that is that police investigation looking into the Greenbelt. I don't feel like we've heard too much lately on that investigation.
We haven't heard anything. Look, they kicked it to the RCMP, and the RCMP said, we'll have a look at it. I raise it this. We're in the sleepy weeks of summer. Ford is riding high. Very quiet from his government now. Probably smart politics. Why get in people's grill when they want to be on the grill at the cottage? But this thing, it's weirdly long now. It's weirdly long. You would have thought if there was nothing there, the RCMP would have sent out a press release saying, we checked it out, we looked under the covers, nothing. And the fact that it continues is going to raise speculation that maybe there is something. Eventually, we're going to hear something. So I'm just putting this on the board. I'm saying, watch this space, because the fact that we've heard nothing is odd, and it could be a future kink in their plans, especially because they're now reaching polling numbers they've never reached. Midway through their second term, he's peaking. That's unusual, and that's obviously a place you want to be. But you got this little gremlin in the closet you're worried about.
That's a bit freaky, yeah.
Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, the silence will be somewhat deafening. All right, municipal politics, the vacant home tax, that mess is hitting headlines right now. The Star dug through some emails that suggest the CFO wasn't warned of low response rates until the 11th hour. That was a fiasco. It just brought me back. I remember getting that letter.
Gigantic. You had literally hundreds of people lining up at City Hall, many of them seniors, saying, what the heck? I'm automatically being informed that I have to pay $4,000, $5,000, $9,000 worth of tax. And Ben Spur, the Toronto Star, did a crackerjack job going through all the emails, combing through thousands of pages of paper. And what it tells us is that we don't know what really happened. That's a fundamental reality. There is something I can tell you as a guy who worked in ministers' offices, worked for a prime minister, worked for premiers, and yes, have done some work with mayors. They have not given us a clean bill on this thing, because The CFO, 2 days before the deadline, finally jumps into place and says, my God, we have a catastrophe. There is no way, and the emails reveal that it is not true to suggest that the CFO, the city manager, the mayor's office, and the mayor didn't know about this. And then they extended the deadline, and they went back to doing nada, nothing. Sleep time, get your pillows back out, and then, of course, we get another crisis. People have been scapegoated. Some people lost their jobs. But I don't think that the people who actually are responsible have lost their jobs, and I don't think that the mayor has been clean with us as to what really happened. And it's all been a blame game. It's all been about making certain that people don't say, oh, accountability rests with the city manager and the mayor. But it does. And there is no way they were deaf to this when it was happening.
Yeah, there's such a huge impact.
So I think we're at the beginning of Ben Spur's story, not at the end of it. I think there's going to be more revelations, and I think there's going to be more calls for accountability.
Yeah. That and the Greenbelt. I think fall could be very interesting.
That's
and the
right.
November election.
To say the least.
Yeah, there we have it.
All right, thank you, Scott, so much for coming in.
Good to see you
Have
guys.
a great day.
Appreciate it.